Breath of the Wild is a monumental game that has redefined the way players experience open-world gaming. Released in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch and Wii U, the game introduced a bold new direction for the beloved Zelda franchise, embracing player freedom, creativity, and exploration in ways that few other games had before. With its innovative mechanics, detailed world, and minimalist yet powerful storytelling, Breath of the Wild quickly earned its place as one of the greatest video games of all time. At the heart of Breath of the Wild is its massive, intricately designed open world. The kingdom of Hyrule stretches as far as the eye can see, with forests, mountains, deserts, and lakes seamlessly blending into one another. From the very first moment players step out of the Shrine of Resurrection, the world feels alive, vast, and full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. One of the game's most defining features is the freedom it grants to players. Rather than funneling players down a predetermined path, the game encourages them to explore at their own pace and find their own way through the landscape. In Breath of the Wild, the Kingdom of Hyrule is a living, breathing ecosystem. Wildlife roams freely, weather patterns shift, and day turns to night in real time. These environmental elements are not just cosmetic, they directly affect gameplay. For instance, rain makes surfaces slippery, hindering climbing, while thunderstorms pose a real danger if you're carrying metallic weapons or shields. Players must adapt to these changing conditions, which adds a layer of strategy and immersion. The dynamic weather and world systems make Hyrule feel like a place that exists beyond the player's actions, giving it a sense of realism and depth. Exploration in the game is deeply rewarding. As you traverse Hyrule, you'll come across shrines that act as mini dungeons scattered across the landscape. These shrines challenge players with puzzles, combat trials, and physics-based tests that make clever use of the game's Sheikah Slate powers. These abilities allow players to manipulate the environment in creative ways. Magnesis lets you control metallic objects, Stasis freezes time for specific items, Cryonis creates ice pillars on water, and bombs can be used to solve a variety of puzzles or take down enemies. The game does not dictate how to use these abilities, leaving players to experiment and find their own solutions. One of the most praised aspects of Breath of the Wild is the freedom in how players can approach different challenges. There is rarely a single way to complete a task. You might use physics to launch objects into enemies, sneak around a camp to set traps, or simply engage in combat head-on. This flexibility extends to the game's core systems, including combat and resource management. A key gameplay mechanic is the weapon durability system. Weapons, shields, and bows break after extended use, forcing players to constantly seek out new tools and think strategically about when to use them. While this mechanic was divisive at first, many players found that it added a layer of resource management and encouraged creativity. Instead of relying on a single overpowered weapon, you have to adapt and use what's available, whether that means picking up a fallen enemy's weapon or using the environment to your advantage. The game's cooking system also plays a significant role. Players can gather ingredients like mushrooms, fish, and meat from the environment to cook meals that restore health, grant stamina boosts, or offer resistance to harsh climates. The extreme temperatures in Hyrule's environments, such as the freezing cold of the Hebra Mountains or the intense heat of the Gerudo Desert, require careful preparation. Cooking a spicy meal, for example, will allow you to endure cold weather for a set period of time. This adds an additional survival element to the game, making exploration feel more engaging and dynamic. While Breath of the Wild is primarily known for its open-ended gameplay, its story is also a key component. Set 100 years after a great calamity that ravaged Hyrule, the game begins with Link awakening from a long slumber with no memory of his past. His goal is to defeat Calamity Ganon, who has taken over Hyrule Castle, and to free Princess Zelda, who has been holding Ganon at bay for a century. The narrative unfolds through flashbacks and fragmented memories that Link can uncover by exploring key locations in the world. These memories reveal the relationships between Link, Zelda, and the champions, the heroes who fought alongside them in the past. The story is subtle, but emotionally resonant. Zelda, in particular, is portrayed with more depth and vulnerability than in previous entries. Her struggle to fulfill her duties as the kingdom's princess, while grappling with self-doubt and the immense responsibility placed upon her, forms a central emotional arc. As Link uncovers more memories, players gain insight into Zelda's journey and the tragic events that led to Hyrule's downfall. Visually, Breath of the Wild is stunning. Its art style blends cel-shaded graphics with soft, watercolor-like aesthetic, creating a timeless look that balances realism with fantasy. The world is vibrant and colorful, yet also feels melancholic, reflecting the ruins of a kingdom devastated by war. The environmental design is breathtaking, from serene, sunlit meadows to the haunting, desolate remains of ancient temples and villages. The game's sound design further enhances its immersive atmosphere. The music in Breath of the Wild is sparse and minimalist, often taking a backseat to the natural sound of the world, like rustling leaves, bird songs, and flowing rivers. When the music does play, it's often soft piano melodies that underscore moments of quiet reflection or exploration. In more intense moments, like battles or encounters with guardians, ancient mechanical enemies, the music shifts to dramatic, tension-filled compositions that raise the stakes. This subtle use of music and sound helps create an emotional connection with the world and adds to the sense of isolation and discovery. The legacy of Breath of the Wild is undeniable. It has had a profound influence on the gaming industry, inspiring numerous other games to adopt similar open-world designs that prioritize freedom and player-driven exploration. Titles like Genshin Impact and Immortals: Phoenix Rising have clearly drawn inspiration from Breath of the Wild approach to world-building and gameplay mechanics. The game's emphasis on giving players the tools to interact with the world in creative ways has set a new standard for how open-world games are designed. The success of Breath of the Wild has also revitalized the Zelda franchise. Attracting a new generation of players while satisfying longtime fans, the game has sold millions of copies worldwide and earned countless awards, including Game of the Year at the Game Awards 2017. It remains one of the best-selling games for the Nintendo Switch and continues to have a lasting impact on the future of the franchise.